Dear Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen from Catch Us Live from social media, Facebook and YouTube. This is Rudra Narayan Das, Executive Director, Center for Adivasi Research and Development. Welcome you all to this global digital platform of intellectual gathering of Human Sciences, World Human Sciences and Management Conference 2021. Organized by Center for Adivasi Research and Development, Odisha, in association with Indian Institute of Management, Sambalpur, Central University of Odisha, Koraput, and Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. The broader theme of this conference is ethnological context, disciplinary practices of social sciences, and policy frames. On behalf of CARD, I extend my profound gratitude to our patrons, Professor Mahadev Joyswal, Director, Indian Institute of Management, Professor Sharad Kumar Palita, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Odisha, Professor Dr. Sanjay Kumar Nayak, Vice Chancellor, Ravenshaw University, Cuttack. The convener of this largest virtual conference are eminent Indian historian, Professor Chandi Prasad Nanda, and eminent activist, writer, and philanthropist, Mr. Charudar Panigrahi ji. Friends, in this evening, we have with us Professor Dr. Shekhar Trivedi. Dr. Shekhar Trivedi excels in marketing elective courses, especially in digital marketing, direct marketing, and other marketing communication areas. He is an expert in developing multimedia case studies and game, and is known for his innovative teaching methodologies. He has authored a business novel titled Target Boosters, based on the experiences of the salespersons. Now, Professor Trivedi is working as a professor with Dr. Gaura Hari Singhania Institute of Management and Research, Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, India. He's an expert in developing case studies, multimedia business games, and board games. And he also trained 450 faculty in designing business games with training for JNU, New Delhi, and MIT University, Noida. And also certifications in MOOCs in digital marketing courses from Wharton University of Illinois and Northwestern University. In today's symposium, Dr. Trivedi will deliver his talk on media manipulation for consumption. Now, without taking much time, I would like to invite Dr. Shekhar Trivedi to initiate his talk. Over to you, Dr. Trivedi.
Thank you, Dr. Rudra, for introducing me. Just I'd like to share the screen and then I will begin.
Definitely, sir.
Hope my presentation is visible.
Yes, please carry on.
So, Dr. Narayan, is it coming properly?
Yes.
Okay. So, good evening, everybody. And first of all, I'd like to thank Center for Adivasi Research and Development for calling me and giving the opportunity to share my thinking about the ethnological areas, ethnological areas. And I thank Mr. Vikram Jena, who really took all the pain for following it up with me. And the August gathering, which is there on the other side of FB Live and YouTube. So this is my introduction already been given, because now it's online cases. Generally, we have the introduction here on slides. So how Dr. Narayan has already given. But just sharing with you that I am more into creative side of teaching, developing creative skills, how to embed some type of variables in teaching pedagogy. So that has been my area of say work or specialization. And then this like one of the student conference was there. So here also some kind of gamification was done by students. And then this is my area of passion. In fact, where most of my work lies, and I have developed some 8 business games. So that I keep on sharing with the audience. So as far as today's topic is concerned, media manipulation for consumption. This is the topic which now when we see the type of problems which which Earth is facing or which the countries are facing, and the way our cities are burgeoning with the multitude of problems like pollution, and we have seen the example of Delhi and other cities really falling in the same line. Then the discussion becomes very, very apt that let's discuss. And with this August gathering, in fact, uh, we like to be very, very say if some type of issues can be discussed later on. That will be most welcome because that is the objective of these type of conferences. So I begin with my experience with my students, my management students. So when I discuss, I take sustainable development also apart from marketing. So when I ask my students that which class do you belong? So I'll, as it is there in the cliche. So they say that we are from middle class. So now this has become cliche. So I told them, see, first of all, you should be very happy that you are not from middle class. You are from rich class. In fact, you are living the life of a king. So they are really flummoxed that what is this all about? So I tell them that the type of life which you are living, which we are living, in fact, that is quite unheard of, unimaginable if we go and see from the context of a person 150 years back or 200 years back in our history. The type of, say, the consumptions which we are doing. So I tell them, see, just see how many laptops you might be having in your lifetime, say 15, 20, how many phones, say some 30, 40 phones you will be using. And then you have a house of your own, and that is well decorated with a lot of upholstery and all that. No, that was the life of the king. And then you have, say, 20 to 25 dresses with matching slippers. So all that really is unimaginable from the point of view of some old age. So we are living the life of king, and how that has happened. Second thing which I asked them is in the first class that what do you feel that are you independent? Whether you have an independent thinking? They say yes, we have an independent thinking. Everybody will raise their hand. But then I tell them, see, whatever your thinking is has been created by lot many messages by media, and whatever desires and beliefs and attitudes and preferences which you are having, actually that is not your own. That is the result of some type of embedment which has been done by media, and they have been perpetually doing it. So one thing should be known, that our thinking, or we are not having an independent thinking. That is the first thing. So let's see how it all began. So I will just have 2, 3 slides on the backdrop. So we see that this is the world of haves and have not. So the last for 4,000 years of civilization, we are seeing there are powerful people, there are powerless people. There are feudal lords, there are king, and then there is a subject. So since last 4,000 years, the world has been ruled by it has been, whether it been a chieftain or the king or an emperor, they have ruled people either through an influence, some type of subjugation, or violence. So that has been the same modus operandi of running the world since last 4,000 years of civilization, if we calculate from Sumerian. But something changed over the period of time. Something changed from 750s, 1750s, when the Industrial Revolution came, and it lasted say till 1840s. And with the steam engines and the textile industry being run on some of this technology, so the production increased at that point of time. I'm talking about those 100 years from 750 to say 1850. At this point of time, suddenly the bit of power started shifting towards these production barons who were having the factories, who were producing in some great quantities, big quantities. So this, therefore, the whole process which we are seeing in the last say 20 or 50 years or so in America and 30 years in India, that was started from 1740s. But later, say from 1850s, uh, it was not the kings or it was not the uh, say the chieftains, but or the feudal lords, but it was the business. In fact, uh, it was a big business, and this big business from 1860 somewhere, it was ruled by these were some of the people, John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford, and Andrew Carnegie. These were the people who actually uh, put the seed of different type of industries like steel, like oil, like automobile, or like financing. So these type of people were there, and most of them actually, right now I'll not say that they did. Maybe that they are not having the experience. They had they created a job, but uh, that job was really very the conditions were not good, and people laborers were working say from 10 to 12 hours. These people had some type of accumulation of power and they affected the presidents also. Some accounts are there where it is written. However, Rockefeller is supposed to be a big, kept on doing a lot of donation, but then it was JP Morgan, in fact, who had that bit of gray character who really affected the president and changed the policy. So what we therefore see that in the second half of 19th century, that is 1850s to 1900, these were some type of robber barons. They were called as robber barons. They wanted to be the only king of their industry, and most of them were having 90 to 95% of the share of the industry. Maybe that other way, there could have been some other situation also. Uh, so I'm not denying the fact. Their wealth measured in today's standards in hundreds of billions of dollars. So one calculation I read that Rockefeller was having 4 times the wealth of Jeff Bezos at that point of time. And at that same point of time, you see then the contradiction and contradictory forces also come up. So it was led by Mark Twain. He wrote a novel called as Gilded Age, where he said that it is on the surface where you see the gold, but inside what you see is the corruption, the poverty, these type of things are there. So Mark Twain actually wrote about the conditions during this era. So the new situation basically which was coming up was that it was big business, it was giving the carrot of growth, and then people somehow were ready to take up. As it was not always negative, it had some good effect also. This growth had some good effect because especially the health area of health and life expectancy, especially in the 20th century, improved like anything. Now, while this was happening in 19th century, what we see is that somewhere in 1917, 17, sorry, Edward Bernays, he was a great marketing thinker and he was an propaganda expert. And his uncle, yeah, his uncle was Sigmund Freud, and Sigmund Freud wrote to Edward Bernays that I am doing a research and somehow I'm not having money. So Edward Bernays financed his research, and finally, whatever were the outcomes of the research, that psychoanalytic outputs, uh, he passed on one copy to Edward Bernays. So Edward Bernays at that point of time, somewhere in between 1910 to 1925, he was working for presidents of America who wanted to contest election. So Woodrow Wilson was there, and then President Hoover was there, who took his service. So basic premise of Edward Bernays was that, which actually he used it from his uncle's thinking, which was about psychoanalysis, that was understanding the subconscious of human beings and exploiting that subconscious. So he says somewhere, if we understand the mechanism and motives of the group mind, it is now possible to control and regiment the masses according to our will without them knowing it. Now, this was a big breakthrough in terms of that how the products will be sold. Before this, advertising, whatever advertising was there, it was straightforward. It was talking about that this is the product, it is having this much of price, and these are the features, and that is what the advertising was saying. But he somehow discovered that you can use advertising for a lot many ways. So once the work with his president's clients were over, then he thought that these type of fundamentals can be applied into consumer market also. So for consumer products, the same principles can be used. So, however, during that point of time when he was working for Woodrow Wilson, he talked about this science of propaganda. Uh, he said that actually he was having the pious objective. He said that, see, we have come from the regimen of kings and emperors to a democracy. Now, in a democracy, if you have 10 crores of people, and then plenty of groups would be there who will be having their own type of thinking. So now with the democracy and then with so many groups having their own type of thinking, you have to finally mold the thinking. So that's how he has described in his most of the articles, that effect of public opinion in certain direction can be done with the help of propaganda. Then people should succumb to as real democracy. Means actually, it is said that the democracy which we are seeing, actually they are not very ideal democracy. Uh, it is basically you are molding the mind of the citizens so that you can guide them thinking in a particular direction. Then public opinion needed to be tamed so that it doesn't upset the apple cart. And so it has got both positives and negatives. I'll not say that it is having negatives also. Um, uh, there is a problem. So if you have people, so many groups are there, people cannot have one consensus. So finally, you have to build on some type of consensus through such type of propaganda. So they wanted to convince US citizens that America should participate in the war. So they carried out these type of propaganda. Say, advertisements were there. But I want you for US Army. Will you have a part in victory? Wake up America. So such type of propaganda themes were there, which tried to control the public opinion. Then once the work was over, once these issues were over, then we thought that how to use it in consumer market. So this is a really say a paragraph from him where he has stated that he has stated in 1928, and I am reading it for you. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes are formed, our ideas suggested largely by man. We have never heard of in almost every act of our daily lives, whether in the sphere of politics or business, in our social conduct or our ethical thinking, we are dominated by the relatively small number of persons who understand the mental processes and social patterns of the masses. It is they who pull the string which controls the public mind. So he was very, very clear how people mind have to be molded and how we can contribute in this area. And therefore, he then further made 2 points that people can be manipulated at the deep subconscious level. Link product with the human desire of love, admiration, fear, and guilt. And that is the point that it was somewhere in 1920s, 25, that he suggested that these emotional planks can be used to sell the products. Otherwise, the simple rational advertisements were there. So Bernays named this concept as engineering of consent. How to engineer the people for their consent, how to change their mind, how to think for the consumption of particular products. So he said, Paul Mazur quoted in Haring and Douglas 2012, people must be trained to desire, to want new things even before the old have been entirely consumed. We must shape a new mentality. Man's desire must overshadow his needs. So that's what he quoted. Now, these were some radical shift in how the product will be sold in future. So somewhere then, one piano client approached Edward Bernays. So then what he did was, he didn't went for any advertisement. What he did was that he asked these lifestyle magazines or any other magazines or any type of wherever these pictures of a room can be given, American rooms can be given. He said that please put these rooms a bit, please put the piano in these rooms. So he tried that most of the photographs which are appearing in the magazines, lifestyle magazines, should have these type of photograph as you see on left. So by creating these type of pictures, instances, people found that subconscious was affected and people started having the definition of ideal American room. So that means now you will go on and buy piano. So thus just by triggering through pictures, here he was not talking about that you buy piano for this price. Just these pictures were appearing, and because of this, the sales of that client increased. And then you see on the right side, the pictures from the Hindi movies are there that then they borrowed the ideas, whatever was the in things in American movies. So they most of the time were showing now in Indian movies also. So that's a different part. That's how he worked with the subconscious of people. Then there was another instance, client, probably American Tobacco. So they wanted to launch Lucky Strike. So they approached Edward Bernays. And then Edward Bernays said, again, use the same trick. He asked the magazine that if you are carrying the pictures of women, that women should be slim. So he created again what should be the ideal type of women. So the point is that picture affects the conscious and subconscious growth. And because of the familiarity model of advertisement or communication, if some type of pictures or images get repeated, it affects the ideal image in the mind, right? So he created these pictures of slim women across different type of magazines. And then you see on the right side, this one, the bottom one, is this you 5 years from now reach for a lucky instead. So what he did was that first of all he created the ideal figure of women which was slim. So that was one part he was doing, and then second part that there was an advertisement, well planned advertisement. Here now he was saying, is this you 5 years from now? Reach for a lucky instead. So now this was a guilt feeling which they created. So that's how he started working with the subconscious, or changing or even playing with the subconscious, and making the road for the product. So these are few examples where he uh, used started using the subconscious, and some type of mind manipulation was there through different type of media exposure, repetition of information. That that's that how finally the sales increased of the clients. This is just one example. If you see, one is emotion, simple emotion, that is guilt. So probably you will be able to see. We see that you are selling a simple cooking oil, but then you are using an emotion. So I don't know exactly if you are able to hear the voice on the other side. So here the emotions, the love and affection uh, between son and mother has been used to sell the product, and that is oil. That's how the things were done. Now there is another aspect to this thing, which so this was a one dimension. Another dimension I like to indicate that if I say Hitler is basically responsible for the new consumption which we see in the second part of 20th century. So I'll put it something like this. This at this point of time, uh, US actually in Second World War, Germans were having some hand during the war, and they took over France, and so therefore America was worried, and then UK constantly Churchill was given a call to Roosevelt, and then at least Roosevelt, what they started doing was manufacturing arms and ammunition. And these, I think, the pictures are better than words. So therefore, most of the time, I put the picture. You can see very well. And in 4 years, you'll be amazed to know. This I took from one of the American documentaries. 88,000 tanks were by American factories. 88,000 tanks. 7,333 ships. 2 crore rifles and 20 lakh jeeps. You can just, means it's very hard to imagine that what type of capacity Americans had developed because of that production concept, which production method which was introduced by Henry Ford. Now it was used in different type of factories. Now with this, what happened? Uh, During this point of time, actually most of the families, men had joined army and they finally went to Europe. And now who will be working in the factory? So they needed people. And these were the women who were left. So they gave a call that the women should join the factory. So here, if you see the photographs, yeah. So then women joined the workforce, and they were involved in. So this type of propaganda was there. Do the job we left behind, do some employment service. Now here I'm not saying propaganda to judge in any way. However, it has always had negative shades. So we can do it. This poster is very famous. Maybe might be that you have seen it. Then you see these pictures are taken from net, and there were plenty of photographs which were showing women involved in the production process of ammunition or weapons. So now what happened? Women came into the workforce, and now you see war was over finally somewhere in 1945. War was over. Now you can very well think of that all the production capacity which America was having, where it should be going. So how to do it? However, they initiated the Cold War. That is one thing which they did, but it's or altered for consumer products. So then the other problem which actually came up was that now these men were back, and then women have developed the habit of earning the money, and so therefore from here, in fact, women came into the job in a big way. So these factories finally were turned into consumer products. The women were also working there. So we can very well think of the production capacities of these factories. So soaps or the refrigerator or whatever that was produced in lot many numbers. Now, when you are producing it, it needs to be consumed. But then, if you see, that's the difference between needs and desire. Need was not that much of buying any type of product, consumer product. But the type of production which Americans were doing, that has to finally consume. And that cannot be the need based. So you have to create desires in people. So with this thing, in fact, at that point of time, where baby boom also came up, uh, that is an additional point which happened. Coming to this point that uh, these type of advertisements were there after 1945, and they were appearing in American newspaper and magazines. So you see TV adds so much to family happiness, and that's how they use emotions to sell the product. And if they were not doing anything, and this was the more of a raw way of putting down the emotions. Like you see currently, most of the ads they put everything in a very sophisticated way. But here they are putting in a very blatant way. TV adds so much to family happiness. So the minimum of the thing what they were doing was that most of the ads, most of the pictures with the consumer product had the family, and at least the women will be there. So now desires were created, and then 1950s actually saw the growth of advertising in America, and they were using these techniques to sell products. Now, with all these type of things happening, these are some other ads which happened in 1950 somewhere, and now cut to present. So there is a big gap. Now I come to the present in India. What is happening? So I've just taken one topic on one section, that is the process. We see now in general the media or the ads, whatever are there, they are trying, they are harping on one thing. Women is made more like a man, and men are made more like a women. So there is more of balancing the act. So this I remember being a great move by Setmax when they had the World Cup where they involved Mandira Bedi. And by having Mandira Vedi, you are changing, you first of all, you are creating some type of interest. You see that there is women sitting out there, some interest of women started, and then things started changing, and then finally our household, our sisters and maybe mother, they were coming and at least started asking us for. So that type of interest was kindled, and so women also became the viewer, and so that means the opportunity was before the setbacks to advertise more number of products, more of a family product. Otherwise, only men were seeing these channels. So that's how means you have a strategy in place, but then you are changing the mind. Means you are saying that cricket is for women also. So this process is becoming more and more prominent with the coming of any type of product you take. Uh, Women are taking the front seat, and that is we are trying to bring them in the consumption of male product. And that process, in fact, started in the last 25 years or so. And then if you see mm, women becoming man, and that degree is increasing. They are increasing the degree. More men, more men. And so when we see this advertisement, we can very well see. If you see displeasure advertisement, this happened in the first decade. Why should boys have all the fun? Now this was an attitudinal call which was given by pleasure, and they said, why should boys have all the fun? That means you are asking the women to become more like a man. So this was a new avatar they were giving to women now in India while talking about these two decades. Then we see women, man becoming more like women. Means I'm not saying little sense, but that's what they are trying to do. So fair and handsome. So that's the product is being used by one gender. So if you enhance or broaden the appeal, then it will be used by the other counterpart. So thus, to sell the product more and more, you are playing with the psyche of people, and that's what they are doing. And if you see, this is the bullet, and here you see a very unique thing is that if you can mark in the picture, here you see there is a self start. The self start is not that much, but you are trying to make that manly product bit of feminist. Means this is not very bold anywhere in the advertisement, but somewhere in the psychology. Okay, I am a soft man. That's how it starts happening, right? And then, if you see the very latest phenomena of women being, uh, say, say, taking the role of men. And here, these both advertisements were there, and this is the current advertisement which finally is going on. One ad belongs to 1994, and other ad has just happened here. So, however, this is a tribute to the Indian women cricket team, but still, uh, the definitions of mind would be changing. So, the new benchmarks, the new definitions, new beliefs are created. And then just I got to see Mumbai Dive, that is one series which came in Amazon. And I was watching one episode, and there male and female doctor are sitting in the canteen, and that male doctor is in say some distress talking about his wife. Uh, so she says that the lady doctor tells that male doctor friend that your your wife is more strong than you, and you should learn from it, something like that. And then she uses one statement, a phrase is there. She uses be a woman. So means we are altering the uh, statement. Now, right now, while I am speaking all this, I'm not judging anything as right or wrong, but just I'm talking about the phenomena which is taking place. So she says, be a woman, more a statement like be a man. So that's how the things are changing. And once these keeps appearing in the media, these becomes norms. This is more of a collective consciousness, how we take the things. So this becomes a group norms, and then we accept it, and then we start behaving it, and then we start buying the. And then just last week in the Kapil show, Kapil was somebody asked Kapil and Saif Ali Khan that how you change the baby nappies. Everybody changes, but then now that is in the mass media. Everybody is involved, and Saif Ali Khan and Kapil both are telling that how they change the nappy of the baby. So that means man is becoming a softer man. We can say more kind man, right? Who will be contributing in his partner's work. But then the basic phenomena which is taking place at the back somewhere in the subconscious is you are feeling more like a soft man, and for to women they are saying you feel more like a mature women, and in that bit then use the products of different companies. So that's how media manipulations happen. So I took you through the journey of that, how things were done. The seed were put by Edward Bernays in America, and now here in India, what is happening? Few observations were there, so that I've shared. Now, just a few more pictures are there to add to the points. You must have seen this type of pose being used by our youth. So this is a bolting pose, and Usain Bolt has patented this pose. And this pose basically now just because of familiarity, people keep seeing it. People have started using it, and that's how marketing is done. So maybe that we can charge you for that if you create a T-shirt with this pose. So that company like Nike will be paying to Usain Bolt. So that type of interplay in marketing has come up. And this is the ultimate. Just compare from our Doordarshan days that on Sundays we were seeing one movie, but now in our hands we have a plethora of OTT channels, and then we have so many of choices. So this choices actually create a lot of desires, and we end up consuming something or the other. So finally, this is a most interesting photograph and the instance which I get. So Zara came up with these some type of say torn tops and jeans 2 years back, probably, and Rishi Kapoor created a tweet. Now you see this model wearing this torn jeans, so this becomes a fashion. Now this still needs to appear in mass media a lot many times to make the people to wear such type of jeans to this extent or say to achieve a critical mass for this type of fashion. So that's how they affect the general populace, and this is how apart from media how it is done. Uh, so uh, these are some statements which I'll make because finally all these desires have created consumption. So consumption consists of people spending money they don't have to buy goods they don't need to impress people they don't like. That statement was given by Clive Hamilton from the Australian Institute. And then second is from Pavan Verma. He's a very famous author, in fact, good, great thinker, I'd say. I have read his books. So, in order to gain and hold the esteem of man, it is not sufficient merely to possess wealth or power. The wealth or power must be put in evidence, for esteem is awarded only on evidence. So, this is the truth of today's society. So, the engineered result finally have brought us here. In past years, we have consumed more goods and services than in all previous generations put together. That is, I was talking when I began with that you are having the life of a king. The last 50 years, we have consumed so much of resources of earth without replenishment. That's what last 4